Imagine this. April 19th, 1989. Central Park, New York City. A young white woman is out for her evening jog. Her name is Trisha Meili. She's 28 years old, an investment banker, living the American dream. By the next morning, she is found barely alive, beaten so brutally her skull is fractured in multiple places. Her body temperature has dropped to 84 degrees. She has lost 75% of her blood. She is in a coma for 12 days. She has no memory of the attack. The city explodes with fear and rage. And within hours, the police zero in on 5 Black and Latino teenagers, boys really, aged just 14 to 16. Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Yusef Salaam, Raymond Santana, Korey Wise. They become known as the Central Park Five. The media calls them a wolf pack. Headlines scream about savage teenagers wilding through the park. They are painted as monsters who gang raped and tried to murder an innocent woman in one of the most iconic places in America. The whole world is watching. Newspapers, TV stations, politicians, everyone demands justice. Fast. And justice comes. Or so they say. The boys are interrogated for hours, some without parents present. Confessions are recorded. They are convicted in 1990 despite no physical evidence linking them to the rape. No DNA match. Inconsistent stories. They spend between 6 and 13 years behind bars. Lives destroyed before they even become men. Then in 2002, everything changes. A convicted serial rapist and murderer named Matias Reyes steps forward. He confesses he acted alone. His DNA matches the semen found on Trisha Meili perfectly. The convictions are vacated. The 5 are exonerated. But the damage? Irreversible. This isn't just an American tragedy. This is a blueprint. A blueprint that shows how fear, racial stereotypes, rush policing, coercive interrogations, and sensational media can railroad innocent young men of color into prison while the real perpetrator walks free, continuing to commit horrific crimes. And here's the part that should terrify every single person watching this video right now. The same patterns, the same rush to judgment based on race and appearance, the same media frenzy that turns teenagers into animals, the same system that values quick convictions over truth, are repeating across the globe today. In Europe, where police stop and harass young Black and Arab men at rates that defy any statistical explanation. In Asia, where migrant workers face kangaroo courts. In Latin America and Africa, where the poor and the dark-skinned are presumed guilty the moment they're accused. The Central Park 5 case is an ancient history. It's a mirror the entire world is still staring into and refusing to acknowledge. How many more innocent lives have to be shattered before we admit that racism and discrimination in the justice system isn't just an American problem, it's a global infection. And in this video, we're going to dissect every layer of the Central Park 5 case, the night that changed everything, the lies that sent 5 boys to prison, the shocking truth that came too late, and how this exact story is playing out in countries thousands of miles away right now. By the end, you will never look at a viral crime story the same way again. Because when they see us, they don't see human beings. They see threats. They see stereotypes. They see convenient scapegoats. And that blindness is costing lives every single day. If this opening already has your heart racing and your blood boiling, then you already know the truth is being buried every day. If you're the kind of person who scrolls past videos like this because it's too heavy or not my problem, then you are part of the silence that lets these injustices continue. These 5 boys had their childhood stolen because the system and the public chose fear and prejudice over facts. Don't be complicit. Hit the like button right now if you believe the truth deserves to be heard. Subscribe and turn on notifications so we can keep exposing these global patterns together. Your small action helps these stories reach millions who need to wake up, because staying silent is how history keeps repeating itself. Now, let's go back to that night in Central Park. Let's walk through what happened minute by minute, like the thriller became. It's a warm spring evening, April 19th, 1989. New York City is on edge. Crime rates are high. The crack epidemic is tearing through neighborhoods. Racial tensions simmer just below the surface. Around 9 p.m., a large group of roughly 30 to 40 teenagers from Harlem enters Central Park near 110th Street and Fifth Avenue. Some are there to wilding, a term that suddenly explodes into national vocabulary, meaning robbing and harassing people for sport. They chase joggers. They throw rocks. They assault a few people. Police reports start coming in. Meanwhile, Trisha Meili leaves her apartment on East 83rd Street for her usual run. She heads into the park around 9 p.m., jogging north along the Transverse Road. What happens next is horrifying. Sometime between 9:15 and 9:30 p.m., she is attacked in a secluded, wooded area near the 102nd Street Transverse. She is beaten with a rock or brick, sexually assaulted, and left for dead in a ravine. Her skull is fractured. Her eye socket is crushed. She suffers severe hypothermia and blood loss. At approximately 1:30 a.m. on April 20th, two passers-by discover her body. She is unconscious, covered in mud and blood, her clothes torn and bloody. Police swarm the park. They round up dozens of teenagers who were there that night. Among them, Antron McCray, 15, Kevin Richardson, 14, Yusef Salaam, 15, Raymond Santana, 14, and Korey Wise, 16. The boys are taken to the precinct. Interrogations begin, some lasting over 7 hours. Detectives use classic pressure tactics. They tell each boy that the others have already implicated him. Your friends are saying you did it. If you confess, you can go home. No lawyers for most of the questioning. Parents are brought in late, or not at all for key parts. Eventually, 4 of the 5 give videotaped statements. Raymond Santana says he held her legs. Kevin Richardson describes hitting her with a pipe or stick. Antron McCray talks about being there, but not participating fully. Yusef Salaam initially denies, but is pressured. Korey Wise, the oldest, gives a more detailed statement after hours of questioning. But here's what the confessions actually reveal when you look closely. They are wildly inconsistent with each other. They are inconsistent with the physical evidence. None of the boys accurately describe the exact location of the attack. The time frames don't line up. Importantly, none of them admit to actually penetrating or raping Trisha Meili. They describe other acts, but the core crime doesn't match. And crucially, the DNA semen evidence collected from a victim and the scene matches none of them. The prosecution's own expert cannot confirm multiple perpetrators for the rape, yet the confessions become the star of the show. The media frenzy is immediate and relentless. Headlines call them a wolf pack. Teenagers' wolf pack violence. Central Park horror. The New York Post, Daily News, New York Times all amplify the narrative of savage Black and Latino youth preying on an innocent white professional woman. Public outrage reaches fever pitch. Then, on May 1st, 1989, just 12 days after the attack, a wealthy real estate developer named Donald Trump spends $85,000 on full-page ads in all 4 major New York newspapers. The headline, "Bring back the death penalty. Bring back our police." He writes, "I want to hate these muggers and murderers. I want to hate these murderers, and I always will." He doesn't name the boys, but the message is crystal clear. These animals deserve the ultimate punishment. The city is poisoned. Trials follow in 1990. The first trial convicts 3 of the boys. The second convicts the other 2. They are found guilty of rape, assault, robbery, and riot. Even though the DNA doesn't match and the confessions are shaky, sentences range from 5 to 15 years. Korey Wise, tried as an adult at 16, serves the longest, about 13 years, much of it in adult prisons, including Rikers Island. He endures unimaginable conditions. The other 4 serve 5 to 7 years in juvenile facilities. Their lives are shattered, families torn apart, futures stolen. Antron McCray's father breaks down in court. Yusef Salaam's mother fights tirelessly. They maintain their son's innocence the entire time. For over a decade, the official story stands. These 5 monsters got what they deserved. But the real perpetrator? Matias Reyes, a serial rapist already committing other horrific crimes, remains free. He continues attacking women. In one case, he rapes and murders a pregnant woman while her children are locked in the next room. Then, in 2002, While in prison, Reyes confesses to the Central Park jogger attack. He says he did it alone. Investigators test his DNA. It matches perfectly. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office reviews everything. They recommend vacating the convictions. On December 19, 2002, a judge throws out all the convictions. The Central Park Five become the Exonerated Five. But 13 years have been stolen. 13 years of hell. And the system that did this? It never truly apologized. This is the American incident in raw, painful detail. A night of horror. A rush to judgment fueled by race and fear. Coerced confessions from frightened children. A media machine that turned boys into villains. A conviction built on sand. And a truth that took over a decade, and a serial rapist confession. To finally emerge. Now comes the part that should make your stomach turn. The official narrative sold to America was simple. These 5 savage teenagers committed a brutal gang rape. Justice was swift. The system worked. But that narrative was built on lies, omissions, and deliberate tunnel vision. First, the interrogations. Detectives lied to the boys repeatedly. We have your fingerprints on the victim. False. The others already confessed and named you. Often false or exaggerated. Hours of psychological pressure on exhausted, scared 14 and 15-year-olds. Parents were kept out during critical moments. The resulting confessions, riddled with contradictions. One boy said the attack happened at one location. The actual site was elsewhere. They described weapons that weren't used. Their stories about who did what didn't match. Even the lead prosecutor later admitted key forensic claims were wrong. Like hair evidence supposedly linking the boys to the victim. It wasn't reliable. The DNA, ignored or downplayed. Semen from the scene matched only one unknown male, not any of the 5. Yet, the case moved forward anyway. Media spin was relentless. Wilding became code for Black and Latino youth running wild. The wolf pack label dehumanized them instantly. And Donald Trump's full-page ad? It poured gasoline on the fire. It told New York and the nation that these boys deserve to die. Even after exoneration, some voices refused to let go. Certain officials and commentators questioned whether the 5 were still involved somehow, despite the DNA, despite Reyes' confession, despite the lack of any physical link. The Armstrong report, commissioned later, raised some questions about other assaults that night, but it could not overcome the DNA evidence on the jogger attack itself. The real cover-up wasn't always a grand conspiracy. It was systemic, tunnel vision by police who needed quick arrests to calm a terrified city. Prosecutors who built a case on shaky confessions because it was politically expedient. A media ecosystem that profited from fear and racial stereotypes. A public eager to believe the worst about young men of color. The lie they told you is that the system is colorblind, that justice is blind, that America learned from its past mistakes like the Scottsboro boys. The truth? The system saw 5 black and brown faces and assumed guilt. It saw a white female victim and demanded blood. It ignored exculpatory evidence. It rewarded coercion. And when the truth finally emerged, the city fought the civil lawsuit for over a decade before settling for $41 million in 2014 without admitting wrongdoing. Roughly $1 million per year of wrongful imprisonment. Blood money for destroyed childhoods. This wasn't incompetence alone. It was a machinery of racial discrimination dressed up as law and order. And that machinery is still running, not just in America, but everywhere. Here is where the Central Park Five case stops being just an American story. It becomes a warning for the entire planet. Because the same ingredients, racial fear, media amplification, coercive policing, rushed judgments against minorities, are producing identical tragedies worldwide right now. Let's start with Europe. In France, as recently as 2025, the European Court of Human Rights condemned the country for racial profiling. Young Black and North African men are stopped by police at rates 4 to 20 times higher than white citizens, with no reasonable suspicion. In one landmark case, Kareem Tool was checked 3 times in 10 days, insulted, harassed, simply because of how he looked. The court found discriminatory treatment. France could offer no justification. Sound familiar? Presumption of guilt based on skin color. In the UK, stop-and-search powers disproportionately target Black youth. Statistics show black people are up to 9 times more likely to be stopped. Cases of wrongful arrest and coerced statements echo the Central Park Five tactics. Germany and Switzerland have faced similar rulings from a European court for discriminatory identity checks on people of African or Middle Eastern descent. Move to Asia. In China, African migrants and students have faced waves of discrimination, especially during the COVID era, accused en masse of spreading disease, evicted, harassed by police, and subjected to unfair legal processes with little recourse. Confessions under pressure. Media portraying them as threats. In India, Dalits and other lower caste or minority groups face systemic bias in the justice system. False accusations, coerced confessions, and mob justice often replace fair trials. The same they look guilty mentality. Latin America offers even starker mirrors. In Brazil, young black men from favelas are killed by police at staggering rates, often with minimal investigation. The narrative, criminal elements, sound like Wolfpack. Wrongful convictions based on weak evidence or torture confessions are common. The poor and dark-skinned pay the price, while real perpetrators sometimes escape. In many African countries, ethnic minorities or political dissidents face the same rush to judgment. Colonial legacies leave systems where certain tribes or skin tones are presumed more criminal. The Middle East sees migrant workers from South Asia and Africa trapped in kafala systems, facing abuse, unfair trials, and deportation without due process. The pattern is global. A high-profile crime involving a respectable victim. Media frenzy that emphasizes the race or ethnicity of suspects. Police pressure for quick results. Coerced statements from vulnerable young people. Convictions despite weak or contradictory evidence. Then, sometimes years later, the truth leaks out, but the damage to lives, families, and communities is permanent. The Central Park Five were not anomalies. They were symptoms of a worldwide disease, the willingness to sacrifice innocent minority lives on the altar of public fear and racial bias. Statistics back this up repeatedly. In the U.S. alone, black people are 7 times more likely to be wrongly convicted of murder than white people, according to exoneration registries. Globally, the Innocence Project and similar organizations document hundreds of cases where race was a deciding, often invisible, factor. The mirror is clear. When society sees black or brown faces near a crime, too many eyes see guilt first and humanity second. The Central Park Five case didn't invent this. It just exposed it in the brightest spotlight possible. And the world is still copying the script. Pause for a moment. The title of this video is Central Park Five Case. Now ask yourself this relatable question. Have you, or someone you know in your country, ever been judged guilty before any evidence was shown, simply because of your skin color, your accent, your neighborhood, or how you look? Have you seen the media turn a group of young people into monsters overnight? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Share your story or your country's example, because these patterns thrive in silence. Your comment could help someone else feel seen and help us expose the next global mirror. Let's go deeper than most creators dare. The Central Park Five case reveals uncomfortable systemic roots that connect to economic incentives, policy failures, media roles, and tech amplification today. First, the root: implicit and explicit racial bias baked into institutions. Police are trained, consciously or not, to see certain demographics as higher threat. In 1989 New York, super predators' rhetoric was rising. Black and Latino youth were the face of that fear. Interrogation techniques exploit vulnerability, and minority youth, often from poorer backgrounds with less legal knowledge, are easier targets. Policy failures compounded. Trying juveniles as adults, pressure for high conviction rates, qualified immunity that shields misconduct, economic incentives. Prisons are big business in many places. Quick convictions fill beds. Media gets ratings from fear. Corporate and media roles. Outlets profit from outrage. Sensational headlines sell papers and boost TV ratings. In 1989, the Wolfpack narrative fit perfectly into existing stereotypes. Today, social media and algorithms make it worse. Viral clips spread racial fear faster than facts can catch up. Clickbait titles and outrage farming keep the machine running. Tech platforms amplify biased content because engagement equals money. The bigger picture most avoid? This isn't about a few bad apples. It's about a system designed or evolved to protect the powerful and the majority by sacrificing the marginalized when fear spikes. The uncomfortable truth. Many people still believe those people are more likely to be guilty. Studies on implicit bias confirm it across cultures. When a crime shocks the public, the search for scapegoats often follows racial lines. The Central Park Five were convenient, poor, minority, in the wrong place at the wrong time. Their exoneration didn't dismantle the system. It barely dented it. And that's why the pattern repeats globally. Economic inequality plus racial stereotypes plus fear-driven policy equals recipe for repeated injustice. Until societies confront the root, the dehumanization of the other, the Central Park Five story will keep having new names and new locations. So what is the final twist? The real crime in the Central Park Five case wasn't just a brutal attack on Trisha Meili, horrific as it was. The deeper crime was the attack on truth, justice, and 5 innocent boys, carried out by the very institutions meant to protect them. Matias Reyes acted alone. The DNA proved it. The 5 were innocent. Yet parts of society still whisper they must have been involved somehow. Some voices never accepted the exoneration. That refusal to face the truth is the twist. Because admitting the system failed so spectacularly means admitting it can, and does, fail others every day. The Exonerated Five have gone on to advocate for reform. Some wrote books. They sued and received a settlement. But no amount of money restores lost years, lost innocence, or the scar on their names. The world watched America get it wrong in the brightest spotlight. And instead of learning, too many places copied the mistakes. The final revelation? We are all potential Central Park Five. If the wrong crime happens in the wrong neighborhood, and you fit the wrong racial profile, the machine can activate against you or your children. The only defense is relentless demand for truth over comfort, evidence over stereotypes, justice over expediency. The Central Park Five case is not closed. It is a living warning, a mirror held up to every nation on earth. Will we finally look into it honestly? Or will we keep breaking more innocent lives while pretending the reflection belongs to someone else? The choice is ours, but silence is no longer an option. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for watching all the way to the end. Videos like this get buried by the algorithm because they challenge comfortable narratives. The fact that you stayed means you care about real justice. Please do 3 things right now. Share this video with at least one friend or family member who needs to see the global pattern. Subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss the next deep dive. And comment below with your thoughts. I read every single one. Next video, we're exposing a current explosive case of racial discrimination in the justice system that's making headlines worldwide right now. One that shows these patterns are accelerating, not fading. You won't want to miss it. Until then, stay vigilant. Demand truth. And remember, when they see us, we must see each other.